7 years ago, I was almost committing suicide. By then, I had already been admitted to Chainama Mental Health Hospital, a record 16 times. I had also been arrested a couple of times. Hi, my name is Daniel Mbazima. I am a recovering addict and a recovering alcoholic, and this is my story. Yeah, so I happen to be the first and the only boy child as of now. And my father happens to be a pastor. So you know what they say about pastors' children, yeah. So PK, yeah, that was the problematic one. It all started well. I think my parents tried with everything that they could to make sure that being the first and the only boy then, I could have quite some good quality education. So I went to some good schools and they tried as much as possible to provide all they could. And my issues with mental health started when I was in high school. I experienced a lot of bullying as a result of being a pastor's child. You know, the guys would make fun of me. And besides that, I was never that cool kid. I was never that good looking guy. I was never that intelligent guy. I was always the shy, weird kid. And a lot of guys would pick on me because of that. I was actually the child or the kid that, you know, when you're choosing teammates for any activity, whether it's soccer or anything, people would pick me last. Yep, I wasn't cool. And that affected my self-esteem so much that my only focus was pretty much on my academics. And that's the only thing that made me feel normal again, because at that time, that was the only thing that my parents were focused on. So it was either my spirituality or my academics. I managed to complete high school and I got some good grades, and I was given an opportunity to go and study medicine. That's in a foreign country, which was in Russia. And I was very passionate about medicine back then. So yeah, I went to Russia to study medicine. The first 3.5 years were absolutely amazing. I was top notch of my class, and you know, I was getting recognized, and school was going pretty well. Then my focus as well was pretty much on my academics and my spirituality. Fourth year after my exams, that's the time that I, you know, started experimenting with alcohol here and there. And I didn't know what I know now, which is that there are pretty much 3 types of people that drink alcohol. So we have the first classes of people that can drink and can control their drinking. We classify them as social drinkers. Then we have the second classes of people that abuse alcohol. So for an alcohol abuser, it's somebody that doesn't have the skill, no educational support or background, and they don't have any financial muscle. So as a result, they tend to abuse alcohol. So they drink more than the usual. They drink more than the actual limit. But to some extent, they have control. So what happens with the person in that state is if you give them, you know, an opportunity to pretty much excel, they'll instantly switch up and go back into being a social drinker. But I was under the 3rd class, so I'm classified as an alcoholic. What that means is when I drink, the first thing that gets affected are my relationships. The second thing is my finances. 3rd is my occupation. 4th is my health. And then I resort to inferior environments and inferior companionships. And, you know, there's the blacking out, loss of memory and everything. So in that phase, I felt that, hey, alcohol was really not for me because I didn't like the taste and the hangover. So I took a break from drinking. And it was at that time that I got introduced to heroin and cocaine as well.
Okay, so when you started drinking, was it with a friend, by a group of friends? Was it at a party? Because now you're very experienced with this, but you have a lot of knowledge. But I want you to take it to, let's say I'm an 18-year-old who has just started drinking. So was it at a party? Was it you wanted to experiment, or was it like, how did that go? Like the first few times?
So what used to happen is people would drink over the weekends, yeah, as a result of dealing with med school stress. So it was something that people would do from time to time, and it was just a Friday to Saturday type of thing. But when I started drinking, for me, at first it was fun, but then it moved from Friday to Saturday, and then Saturday it moved to Sunday because my classes were in the afternoon on Monday. And then it moved to Monday because the classes on Tuesday were not difficult, and then it became an everyday thing. And on top of that, people, my peers would wonder like, hey, I think you're drinking a little bit too much. Why can't you just stop? And every time you get drunk, you can't control it. Maybe we're out in the club and then you're blacking out and everything. So I just realized at that point, alcohol was not for me. And I didn't know the classes and the categories. So I took a break, and I still continued going out and chilling with everybody else and pretty much having fun. Although at that moment, I couldn't have fun as everybody else was. And that's when I noticed actually that, some of the guys within our circles were taking heroin and cocaine.
The first time?
Yeah, so the first time I had it, we're having a party, summer parties, yeah. So I've always been fascinated by music. I listen to all types of music, by the way. And what used to happen is I used to DJ for my colleagues. And every time we had a chill, I would be the DJ, the guy playing music. So this time I went to the bathroom and I found one of the guys, he was sniffing something. And I looked and I recognized, And I didn't get carried away. I just looked, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And yeah. And the second time I found him again in the same night. Third time I was like, you know what, let me try and stuff, yeah. And I did, and I loved it. Yeah, because frankly speaking, there is nothing that will give you the feeling that drugs give you. When you look at the levels of dopamine, which is then responsible for pleasure and responsible for, motivation as well. When you look at the dopamine levels, for people to understand out there why it's so difficult to quit drugs and alcohol. When you're at your lowest level, when you left, or you just wake up and your mood is low, I would say your dopamine is at 40. When you wake up on a normal day, nothing extraordinary is happening, you would say your dopamine is at 50. There are two things that increase dopamine naturally. We've got food and we've got sex. So we've got sex at 92. We've got food at 94. I know many people think, like they're trying to wonder, but it is what it is, yeah. So the highest level of dopamine a human being can get is between 110 to 120. So that's like the maximum. So just to repeat the numbers, we've got lowest at 40, normal 50, we've got sex at 92, then we've got food at 94, and then we've got the highest level between 110 and 120. So very few people get to that extent here. But drugs such as cocaine and heroin increase the dopamine level to 1,100. So that's the high that you get. And we have things such as, marijuana and alcohol, which are between 800 and 900, between that range. So when you start using drugs, that high feeling is what you'll be chasing for a very long time, because you found something that is greater than sex, that is greater than food, something that is greater than promotion, that is greater than everything else. So when a person starts using drugs or they start drinking more than the usual limit, what happens is, because of the suppression, the mind begins to suppress the release of dopamine because you're overdoing it. So that suppression means 1 won't be enough, you need about 2 next time. 2 won't be enough, you need about 3. 3 won't be enough, you need about 5. 5 won't be enough, you need about 7. What's happening is you're increasing your dosage. And as you increase your dosage, you get to a point where you get addicted. And when you get addicted, it means you've transitioned from the fun phase and you've moved to the abuse phase. And between the abuse phase, you move into the dependency phase. So in the beginning, when I started, it was fun. It went on for a while. Yeah.
Okay, so so that was the first time in the bathroom. Did you now get hooked instantly, or now did you have to start? Sorry, days, or did you get hooked instantly? Did you have the means to carry this habit now that you had started? Did you have the finances? Did you have a plug? Then how long did it take for you now to start spiraling, to get out of control, if you did get out of control?
So I was at a party when that happened, and I remember going back to the hostel. Yeah, and I struggled to sleep. Reason why I struggled to sleep was when I was going back, I was feeling funny, but in the car the guys told me, take some alcohol. So I didn't know that there are times when you mix alcohol and cocaine and you can actually stay awake for some time. That's what drives most people actually. So I was still awake, but I was feeling good, and I was having that intense sense of pleasure that you get, because cocaine the high from cocaine doesn't last for a very long time. So when you take, like, you get that high, then as time goes on, it like goes down, yeah. So I was getting that intense rush, that high. It's something that I never felt before. I went back to the hostel, I chilled, and the following morning, I was told that there was another party out of town, and I went to that other one, and there, the same guy that I started with was there as well. And by then we had already closed. It was a summer break, yeah. So we kept moving from like party to party to party because that's what we're doing in that time. So I think the whole summer went on. It was pretty much fun, yeah. When we resumed with school, that's the time when I tried to control it, but by then it was still a bit difficult for me. But I still had access to it because then I wasn't using my money. I was like hanging around, you know, the cool rich guys, and it was pretty much fun. So it went on for some time, yeah.
You were hanging out with the pretty cookies.
Yeah.
Do you think the inferiority complex you had, I'm trying to humanize you, the inferiority complex you had as a child came to manifest in college because now your words were you were hanging out with the rich cool kids? Do you think that young boy, that young Daniel, the pastor's child, found people that could actually now accept him, and this was now a way to the inferiority manifested into you hanging out with the rich kids?
During that time, for the first time in my life, I felt cool again, yeah. So I remember I even did dreads, and you know, I had piercings all over, and I was pretty cool. So I changed my dressing as well, because before I was just like, you know, all formal and stuff like that. But yeah, I found my sense of style, and I was accepted. And in that moment, I feel that was pretty much the first time in my life that I was able to draw female attention. So that continued for some time, because now with the whole DJing thing that I was doing, you know, I was getting invited to sports and everything and stuff like that, and I was mingling and meeting different types of people, and I found a sense of friendship like no other, because all my life I was usually mostly family and religiously oriented. My circle came from there, but I found people that were able to accept me, and I was being me, and yeah, I felt cool for the first time in my life.
So now we can go back to school and
yeah. So with school, I went back to school and I still continued using and still getting high. During this period, as time went on, you know, my usage also increased, and that's when I got introduced to a couple of other drugs. That's where the codeine came in. That's where, you know, prescription medicine came in, such as, you know, the diazepam, and there was a bit of morphine here and there. I didn't really like morphine, but also got introduced to ecstasy and a bunch of, you know, other things. There was also a lot of, you know, smoking that took place, yeah. A couple of my friends were ejecting, but for me, with my medical background, that's not something that I was really into, yeah. So I became pretty much, you know, the life of the party. And that's how addiction is in the beginning, because, you know, by then I had the resources. I still felt I was still in school, and I was still managing. Yeah, so I moved from passive to clearing. There's a difference there, yeah. So I moved from being like this A student to just like moving over. And I didn't see the problem in me. I just felt like, hey, look, I can handle everything to and from, yeah. But fourth year, getting into my fifth year, that's where the problems came in. So I started having trouble with my new roommate at that time, because for him, he was mainly, you know, focused and everything and stuff. But because of the things that were going on with me, you know, leave any time, come back and everything and stuff like that, it sort of had issues with him. Then I was also smoking all the time, yeah. So I think I got to a point where I would smoke like a pack of cigarettes a day. So I was a walking chimney, and he couldn't fit into that lifestyle as well. So we were having problems, and as time went on, it got to a point where slowly but sure I started staying away and missing classes that I felt were not important, that I felt I couldn't do without. By the way, attendance in med school in Russia is something that's really, you know, important, and they really follow it up. So I began staying away from certain classes, and it was just a matter of time before I started staying away from pretty much everything. And as time went on, I would lose track of what would be going on and what would be happening. And the school noticed. People would sit me down, like from the school, they'll talk to me. My fellow country people would talk to me. And at that point, even the people that I was using within the beginning, because that's what happens in addiction, your actual friends that you start with, sometimes they begin to notice the problem in you. And they'll sit me down like, I think you're overdoing it because you're, like, yeah, everybody gets high, but dude, chill. Yeah. So everybody began to stay away from me. And now that's the time when I got hooked and I had to finance it from my own pockets. I managed to get a job to supplement everything, but even that wasn't enough because addiction is expensive. And also, the requests home were coming in more frequent. I need money for a book. My laptop is stolen, my phone is down, this, that, and that, and that, and everything. And at home, I also started having issues. They didn't know I had a drug problem. But as time went on, I moved from, the party boy to now getting addicted and getting hooked. And now I had to start looking for the drug, which meant I had to go to places that even Russians themselves would not go to. Pretty much the Chihuahuas over there, stuff like that, yeah. That caught a lot of attention. I began to get arrested. There's a black boy with dreads getting high, and he's caught in different areas. So I was attracting a lot of attention. So I got arrested a couple of times. The university was notified, and that led to my expulsions and towards the end of my fifth year.
Homecoming. How did it go? You've been expelled. Did you come home immediately? Did you go and stay in Chihuahua and become a sex slave? There's something else I wanted to ask. Oh, I would also, seeing how very knowledgeable you are about this stuff, I don't know at which point I would like you to also let people know about how there are people who get, is it easily hooked? Mm-hmm. Like I think I've read in psychology about how there are some people with genes who get easily hooked, and then there are some who can manage to, yes. So I don't know at which point you say that, but I want to know what happened now. You've been expelled. Do you come home immediately? Are you going to be a sex slave somewhere? What's going to happen?
When I came back, it was okay actually. Yeah. Because when I came back, my parents had noticed. And as is the case with addiction, my mom was a bit soft at that time because that's what happens. I wouldn't say soft, but she was, guys with the mothers and stuff like that, yeah. So she was more on the, I would say to some extent, enabling side, but in reality, she was just doing what a mother does. On the other hand, also my dad noticed that there was a problem. And when I got expelled, I had one good relation with one lecturer who sort of understand the issues to do with addiction. And that's the only lecturer that would sit me down and, try to get me off. That's the only lecturer who would tell me hey, Daniel, I've noticed how you came all these years, but then when you were in your fourth, the issue started. So that's the only lecturer who, was telling me you can struggle with an addiction, you can get out of this, and you tell me about his part. But I was like, the guy was an alcoholic, he's talking about an addiction to alcohol, but I want these other things. So I felt we couldn't relate. So I was here for not a very long time, actually. The weird thing is, when my parents found out, because when I came back, I didn't tell them that I'm expelled. I came back at the time when schools were closing. So I didn't tell them that I was expelled. And the night when they found out that I was expelled, and they were, talking and stuff like that, is the night that I got an acceptance to a different university in a different town. So while they were still going through the emails and, trying to talk stuff and everything, is the time that the other email came in. So it was those things of, hey, look, I didn't get expelled for failing. You get what I mean? I didn't get expelled for failing. The school felt I had a problem. And I don't feel that's reason enough to expel a person, because then, as people in addiction were very manipulative and we like to rationalize, which is basically finding sense and making everything sound like, convincing. That's something that we learn over time in addiction. And I was in denial at that phase. And I felt, hey, look, I still have an opportunity. So yeah, I was given another chance to go back to a different university, of which I did back in Russia. So into a different university, I stopped partying, stopped mingling with people, stopped chilling, stopped in the club. but I still continue getting high by myself. Yeah. And that led to my final expulsion. But this one was bad because I was actually deported. And, like I was pretty much arrested by cops, handcuffs and everything, dragged to the airport. And when I was coming back, my mom was expecting a doctor, but just this time, like, it was bad, like it was evident it was worse. So when I came back now, I mean, everybody knew, like, yeah, the guy is expelled. And that's when the depression sunk in, because I had spent 7 years in a foreign country. By then, my friends had graduated, and my friends that had graduated, I saw them, start doing internship. And the people that I left back home, former classmates who did courses, 4-year courses, they got their lives together. And, my young sister had graduated, and people in the neighborhood, and pretty much everybody, could see a friend, this one's driving, this one's got a new job, this one's business is going well, this one's getting married. That put me in a huge spot where I was severely depressed. And now I'm depressed. I have an addiction problem. I sold off my things already by then, started stealing from my family, started lying and manipulating, other family members, as well as reaching out to old classmates. I reached out to old classmates just to, have a conversation with them, reach out to old friends, but then you go to a point where everybody knew. That's when now things became really, really bad. And for about 3.5 years, my life was in 3 places: Chiwolia, Chainama, or jail. Yeah, so that's when it became pretty, pretty worse.
At which point did you begin? You said you're recovering addict, and said alcohol and heroin, right? Or drugs, yes.
Yeah,
but which point did the alcohol now come in? And then while all this is happening, you were still living at home, or did you still have access to home, or they had decided at some point to kick you out?
I wouldn't say they kicked me out, but I had to leave because of the usage that was involved. So I would leave for some time. I would be in different spaces, different places, yeah. I would mainly maybe live with friends here and there. Sometimes I'll live in Chiwolia, and sometimes maybe get arrested and whatnot. But I would leave home. Like, I would be away for like 8-9 months. Yeah, the longest I did was about a year. Yeah, so during that period, my life I was just pretty much getting high. And that's all. At that point, the drugs and the alcohol totally controlled my life. And I'm known as an all-round user, which means for me, it now wasn't just about alcohol. Like, as long as there's anything to get high on, I would. If there is weed, I would get high. If there are pills, I would. If there is codeine, I would take some. If there is cocaine, I would. If there was heroin, I would. But as time went on, of course, the cocaine, I had to cut it off. The codeine also had to cut it off because they're a bit costly to retain. So it pretty much stuck between heroin, marijuana, and alcohol, and with a bunch of other pills as well.
It was easy to get the heroin here?
Yeah, it is. Still is very easy, yeah. Especially now, yeah. I think back in the day, we'd have to go to Chiwolia. That's how it was. But now, you can get it anywhere.
Yeah, I know it's happening in the car also. Okay. Point of realization, point of clarity, or whatever, picking you up from. This is my first time here. I know you. I know of you, but this is my first time. So now, point of realization, or point of. At which point were you even? Who would drag you to Chainama? How was that?
So Chainama, sometimes I'll take myself, but many times I think honestly maybe just once or twice. the rest it was family, mostly the big man, yeah, including Joe, yeah. So those ones mainly came from home. And sometimes it was maybe stealing a couple of things here and there, and then you get caught up and yeah, all those things. Actually, at some point, I had been to nearly almost every police post around town heading this other side. That's town, this the Great North Road, yeah, and a bit off on the other side because of pretty much what was going on. Couple of things here and there, and just getting the times when they could do their raids, and I would be caught up in those as well. So anyway, my point of realization came we were getting high in the G. That's Chihuahua. And a friend of mine told me, hey, there is your childhood friend that passed on, and the funeral has been going on, but then the burial is happening like today. So this is a guy who, we always have those people that won't give up on you, and I think that's the only guy that at some point was only there for me. That's the only person who I'll meet all the time. He'll be like, hey, what's happening? Let's go grab some food, You give him money and he knows directly, like, hey, I'm going to use and stuff like that. But he was looking out for me, yeah. So I heard he passed on in an accident, childhood friend. I went for the burial. And when I went to the burial, I found everybody that I grew up with. And these are people that I hadn't met for years. And there is a way that people look at you without saying anything, but you can know and you can feel what they're saying. You can test the sense of disappointment in their eyes. You can tell how angry or disappointed people are in you, or you can tell how let down they are without even saying a word. So when I went there, those are the looks that I attracted from pretty much everybody. And I could hear people say like, hey, yeah, that's the guy that had the chance, he went to Russia to become something, and yeah, he's Jackie. And I could hear people pointing at me like, hey, have you seen what we're talking about? You get what I mean? So in addiction, you don't get to see yourself. That's just how it is. You don't get to realize, okay, you are aware, but you don't get to really see yourself. And now you have all these people that you perceived you loved, and maybe you're excited to see them. You feel like it's a sense of reunion, but you can see these people pull away from you, like they don't want you anymore. You get what I mean? And I meet a lot of people say like, no, I don't need anybody and whatever. But when you're in a space where nobody needs you, it hurts. So for me, I felt like, hey, look, already I'm at a point where I don't have any hope of waking up the following day. Then everybody's just looking at me this way. Next spot is suicide. So I contemplated that. Lucky enough, did some this work here and there. Got some money from that this week. Went, got a bunch of pills, a bit of codeine here and there, and I smoked a bit of heroin. Next thing, woke up in a drainage. Yeah. So apparently, I had a mini overdose and woke up in the drainage and woke up on the. So for them, because people never used to understand drugs, so they just picked me up like, new Jack, you guys are more Tanzania. So they left me there. And in that moment, I started contemplating suicide. It was just like, it's done, I can't go back home because I've hurt them so much. My mom then at that time, she wasn't feeling too well. The big man didn't want me home. My siblings also had enough. There was nowhere to go, in short. Yeah. So that's the point where I just felt, hey, the next thing is just to kill myself. Luckily, that's the time that my mom happened to drive through it. She just heard off. It was at the funeral. So next thing is we'll find him Kwa George, because it's a place where I used to get high from. Yeah. So when she drove there looking for me, and she found me, that's the time I got up, and it was a very emotional moment. Yeah. And took me home. From there went to China. But I still struggled with addiction for like a year because there were no centers then. Yeah. Up until my dad found something rehab or oriented. By then at least I was still home, so I would I would stay for like maybe a week sober, then I'd go back. Yeah, I'll stay like maybe 2 weeks and I'd go back. I think the longest that I did was like 3 weeks, but because of the withdrawals and it's a painful process, I was having the back and forths. Yeah, and my dad found out something about rehab, and that's how we went to Zimbabwe at that time. There were no centers here, and that's how I checked it to rehab. Yeah, and that was my telling moment. When we were going to Zimbabwe at that time, that's the time we were facing heavy sanctions. And by then, I was now completely on heroin. Yeah, that's the only thing that I was on. Famously known as swallow. So I remember the journey because from here to Harare by bus, it's 24 hours. And I had to go with my dad. Sad to say, my dad had me the entire time because I was shivering, I was shaking, I was craving. And would stop, and this is a pastor by the way, would stop, and parents would do anything for the child, would stop. And my dad, who's a pastor, would just give me some cigarettes and allowed me for the first time to use something in his presence. for him, the main goal is, hey, look, we have to make it. We have to make it. I know it's difficult. And I remember people on the bus were looking at me and they're wondering, like, hey, what's happening with this guy? And other people would be like, hey, he's the one. Like, you're saying it's your son, you're allowing him to smoke, and then, yeah. Others, I remember the conductor wanted me off, but the driver was just like, whatever, it's not our duty here. Because I was shaking too much, like I was undergoing massive withdrawals. So that trip was very, very long for me. Even from the border, when we arrived in Zimbabwe, before, I could maneuver and stuff like that, but from the border to the rehab, that was the longest 12 hours I've ever had in my life, because I was sweating, I was shivering, I was having stomach cramps, I was, having this massive diarrhea and stuff like that. And that's what happens when the person is withdrawing from drugs. So we went through, and when we entered, it was very, very difficult. But I was so lucky that I found people that knew what they were doing. They were experienced. Quickly, they put me on detox medication. And at that moment, things became easier, at least because now the physical aspect was helped. What hurts the most is the craving and the physical aspect, which is why it's difficult for people to stop. But once you move past that, things become easier. I had a difficult time adjusting, of course, because the only thing that changed my perception in rehab is when the person who went through what I went through came and he spoke to us. And after that, I asked that I should be speaking to him. That's when things turned around. But the rest of the things, therapy and blah, 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 they didn't click for me up until I met that person. So that's what made it easier. But I had people that had other mental conditions. So that was difficult, I had the roommate that I had, I think the second night was bipolar. The third night, the guy was schizophrenic. The fourth night, it was somebody who, had a terrible psychosis. So those first days were really, really difficult.
How long did you stay in Zimbabwe?
I did 3 months, which was okay, but I felt I needed more time, and I continued my program voluntarily. So I did a month and a half. So in total, it was 4.5 months. And then I came back also, and I wouldn't call the other packs just entering because it was only for personal use, but it was 4.5 months intense rehab period.
Okay. Then when you came back, what was the difference now? How had that changed? How had your perspective changed? Were you trusted around the house? Did you come back home to home?
Hell no. The trust took long to come because I think there's certain steps that I'm skipping. When I came back, it was difficult, because I'm from Matero, and I'm coming from a space where most of my friends there were also either getting high or they were drinking. So it wasn't very easy to move around, and those are some of the challenges that I faced. It wasn't easy to move around. So every time I would leave the house, I come back, they're like trying to smell me and everything and stuff like that. Because my family was scared. They were scared because of what I put them through. But with time also, as I was healing, they began to heal as well. So it became easier. But one of the challenging things I had was picking myself over and starting all over again. I had this zeal to go back to school, which I went. But when I arrived in class, I was in my late 20s. I'm the oldest in my class, and I'm with kids who finished the previous year. This kid is coming in talking about he or she is 16, going into 17. And even the lecturers, they'll come and they'll be like, all of you are young enough to be my children. And then they look at this old guy in the corner and go like, I think that one's my brother. You get what I mean? Then you can hear the kids like chuckle a bit. You go to the tuck shop and there's a queue, but everybody just moves. You get what I mean? So it was difficult. Walking to get on the bus to go to school, and I see my friend driving to work, and all I'm struggling with an assignment. He's talking about the contract, the boss, this and that. So that esteem, the reasons why I started using, slowly also came back in. But with time also, it continued to help. I was able to pick myself back up, and I managed to get into school and I graduated.
Did you have the relapse at any point?
Nope. So I didn't relapse at that point because one of the things is I had really, really lost out. And for me, I knew that if I go back, there was nothing there. There was really, really nothing there. And the main reason why I didn't feel upset, I had a supportive family. Yeah, like my family was very, very supportive, which really, really helped me as well.
So there's hope for the kids that we see, some of us in the Chillstones using Volo in Tendere East. There's hope if they have proper support.
There is a lot of hope. There is a lot of hope, and now there is help as well. So you don't have to. I mean, 7 years ago when I came out with my story, I was on social media. It's people would be laughing, like, yeah, he messed up and this and that. Sympathy for the junkie and everything and stuff like that. But now, almost every family has a person struggling with an addiction or a mental health condition, and there is hope and there is help. And I've worked with a number of people, from the most difficult people, given them a couple chances, and I've seen people worse than I am turn around.
Where are we now? After we graduated, what was next? Where are we now?
After graduation, no, before graduation. So before graduation, what I used to do just to stay sober, initially that was my dream and that was my goal. So I would speak out about addiction-related issues, and I would try to help out a number of people. Others would turn around and change, but I realized the need for residential treatment, and that's what we're missing out on in the country. So before I graduated in my third year, I managed to gather a few resources with a colleague, and that's how we started the Sanit House Rehabilitation Center. And we started with that one where we call the Standard Center. Did extremely well. There was increasing demand for it. People did manage to change. Then we opened the second house and the third house. So as of now, I'm practically running 3 rehab centers as well as 2 wellness centers, and I'm speaking out on addiction. So it's pretty much what's going on.
So as a person who runs rehabilitation and wellness centers, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is addiction, and how bad I am people struggling with addiction and mental health issues?
Right now it's very bad. Very, very bad. It's a ticking time. As I said earlier, 1 in every family is struggling with an addiction. Yeah, we all know somebody. Like right now, if you don't know anybody in your family that's struggling with an addiction, then it's coming. Unfortunately, at the level that we're at, either we know somebody or we are some of those people ourselves. So we have about 1 in every family. 75% of all disciplinary cases in schools and universities as of now are as a result of drugs and alcohol. There's less fighting and less bullying. 75% of those cases as a result of that. There are 2 institutions that fill up prison as we speak. We have immigration, and then we have drug-related crimes. So even in the courts, most of the things that are going on as a result of drugs and alcohol. Chiwole used to be a hotspot, but now we're talking of Chaindam, Tendere, Kaunda Square, Chelston. We're talking of Matero, Gade. So these are things that we find everywhere. And we are not talking about alcohol, marijuana, we're talking about heroin and cocaine on the streets. So it's a very, very serious problem.
How expensive is rehab?
It's very costly. Actually, it's way above the average person's capacity. So it's quite costly in terms of, it is not easy rehabilitating a person. They need professionals. They need to be watched over 24 hours. They need a certain program that they have to adhere to. They require certain nutritional needs as well. For others, there may be medication that may come in. And it's really, really costly, especially without any support. And also, fluctuating prices here and there without any external support make it really, really difficult. I think it's something that we haven't fully accepted as a nation.
Okay, so if that's costly, and the average kids that are struggling addiction are from the compounds, they just say, do you see a win-win situation for your work and the kids that are struggling? Because if it's my child, obviously I won't be able to afford rehab. What's the next line?
Which is where we have wellness centers. So we have one in Chiwolia, and we have one in Livingston in an area called Malota, which is practically the Chiwolia of Livingston. So besides just offering residential help, Residential help is part of the treatment in itself. We are also working on awareness as well as preventive approaches as well to sort of try and care. And even in terms of rehab, it's not everybody that needs rehabilitation. There are certain people that need rehab. Others can manage with outpatient. And that's pretty much how we're trying to tackle both in a way. Yeah.
Signs that parents, guardians, siblings, friends can look out for in a person who's struggling with addiction or just beginning, or struggling with addiction. What are like some of the signs, telltale signs?
Isolation. So any person who's struggling with an addiction will isolate at some point. By isolation, what I mean is they find more pleasure being on the outside than on the inside. I'm not talking about when a person comes in and they're drunk and then they're, talking a bit and stuff like that. But when a person begins to stay away from family activities, a person begins to stay away from activities that have to do with occupation, whether schoolwork or business. When a person begins to isolate from important family events, when a person begins to isolate from things that they regularly used to do, those are some of the signs. Besides that, also, there are certain mishaps that begin to happen, such as, loss of interest in the things that used to excite them. You have a person who was passionate about school, passionate about singing, passionate about this, all of a sudden they just withdraw. The other thing also is, these days it's very difficult with the way drugs are. It's very difficult to tell the scent, but you can tell in terms of their behavior. So there are other things such as loss of appetite or more appetite. Yeah, things such as failing to keep time, defenseness, and above all, it's the agitation and the aggression that comes with addiction. So you would notice a lot of mood swings. That is enough to tell you to say, look, there is something that we're struggling with. Demand for money also can be another thing, but before somebody knows, the agitation and the aggression is one of them.
I think you can just wrap up now, close.
All right. So, how's what's going? What do you see the future like? You should like humanize yourself out of the then and the now.
Yeah, I'm proud. I'm coming from a place where when I enter the house, people would hide their phones, hide their money. You get what I mean? Yeah. My house, my parents' house had burglar bars inside. That's very weird. You get, my sisters locked up everything. And now I can walk in the room and my mom is happy. Yeah, my sisters, we have a very good relationship with my dad as well. So I'm in a better place than I was. And that in itself gives me satisfaction. I'm working with a couple of people and I can see them transform. And, sometimes it's difficult, but, just seeing a person transform, just seeing parents happy, that brings satisfaction. That's priceless, yeah. So, yeah, I'm in a better space, far much better space.
Wait, you said you're a recovering addict.
Mm-hmm.
Would you ever get to a point where you say, I'm a recovered addict?
The term is subjective. Most people would like to. So addiction has a lot of embarrassing moments. And it affects the family the most because, you're seeing somebody you love turning into somebody you never thought they'll become. So some people would use the term recovered because they want to do away with their past. But the truth is, we are all in recovery. If I was to go back and start drinking right now, I would pretty much start selling things. If I was to go back and start using drugs, the same addict in me would still come out. So every day I need to make a conscious decision to stay away from drugs and alcohol. So it's a recovery thing up until I die. But if I go back, it means I've relapsed. So I like to use the term recovery just to remind myself, like, hey, look, I shouldn't get too comfortable and feel maybe I can drink again, maybe I can use drugs again. No, it's a process, yeah.
In your closing, what would you say to parents or guardians that are dealing with children who are addicts and are almost at the verge of getting over?
To the parents of people struggling with an addiction, firstly, you need to understand nobody just wakes up and says, 20 chako tisakala chaki. Nobody does that, yeah. Nobody wakes up and says, I'm going to mess my life away. It's a substance abuse disorder, which means it's a disease. And a person is not okay. Everybody else is okay, but the person is not okay. Get professional help. Get professional help for the person. Let them see people that know how to handle these things. And people do recover. I know people with far worse stories than I have that have been able to get their lives together again. And to people struggling with an addiction, I always like to say everybody goes through a crashing moment in life. Right now, as you're speaking, somebody's getting divorced. Somebody's struggling with finances. Somebody's going through debt. Somebody's got a health issue. Somebody lost their child, their partner. Somebody's going through favorite a heartbreak. So all these things happen. Everybody goes through something in life. But I like to say that moment, that crashing moment, is supposed to be a process. And it's something that you go through and then you get out of it. So whatever it is you're going through, there are many causes and conditions of why people use drugs, but it's possible for you to get your life together again. It's possible to live a drug-free and a sober life. It's possible for you to reunite your relationships. And it's possible to get back up again and live without the consequences of drugs and alcohol. I am living sober. I went through what you're going through. I understand where you are. And I know it's possible for you to build yourself back up. It's never too late. If you have somebody struggling with an addiction, please do not give up on them. It is people like you that saved a person like me. So don't give up on a person struggling with addiction. If you need help for a person, if you or a person needs help for addiction, please reach out to my Facebook page, which is Daniel C. Mbazima. I get to share a lot about addiction and recovery stories. Or you can follow our rehab center, which is Sanity House on Facebook. There are a couple of details there. My personal phone number is 0975 849489. 0975 849489.